Hi, good day everybody. My name's Jamie. I own and operate a mobile RV business in Kingston, Ontario. We've been in business 24 years. We service over 40 different campgrounds in southeastern Ontario, have a full service shop and a parts store. So my background, I'm being the instructor for the RV apprenticeship program from 2002 to 2009. I sit on the CSA board writing code for the travel trailers and the park models Z240 and Z241, and we're very active in the interprovincial test questions and the item banks. So today we're going to discuss the operation of an RV absorption refrigerator. So what I have here is a cutout view of the cooling unit from the back of the refrigerator. So how these work, they have to create heat in order for them to make cold. So how that happens, it happens two ways. One is via an electric element. This is what it looks like. Most of them are around 325 watt. So this is hooked up to our board. This creates heat. This is a cutaway view of how that works. These tubes would have our element in it, and the heat is transferred to what we call the pump tube. When the heat's transferred to the pump tube, there's water in the boiler in this. It boils the water, it pushes it up. You can see a small tube on the inside, which is this. It pushes this tube, the water back up, because it will evaporate and push. And as it's pushing, it's starting to move the ammonia, which is based at the top, which is the fins. You would see these on the back side of the fridge. It pushes that up. Then it's got to go through this pipe. Up into this pipe is where the ammonia and the hydrogen and water mix that's here. When it's pushed up through there, these dimples that are in this pipe are designed to slow down the flow of the ammonia water hydrogen combination going through the refrigerator, because we don't want it to go through too fast, because it won't maximize its cooling efficiency if it's just flowing through. So we want to slow it down via these dimples. So in these fridges we have ammonia, hydrogen, and water. So the water is based here at the bottom, comes back up. The ammonia is up at the top part of the refrigerator. And what moves the ammonia and the water around is hydrogen. And hydrogen is odorless and colorless. So they mix it with a product, a sodium chromate, which is a yellow, greenish, creates a yellow-greenish color on it, which would indicate a leak or its poor performance. So when that happens, and this is actually what's happened with this particular cooling unit, you can see that some of the discoloration that's through here. So the pump tube, which is this tube, got a leak in it, and therefore it leaked all of its hydrogen out. When that happens, the freezer can cool, but the fresh food will stay, compartment will stay warm. That happens because there's no way to circulate the fluids through the pipes in order for them to be efficient. So that's the quick version of an absorption refrigerator. When this stuff starts to cycle back through there, you can see again there's internal pipes on here. So when the water comes back up and vaporizes, it comes back down through the pump tube and back into the boiler. and it runs on that constant cycle. So we're sort of like heating a kettle and creating steam. It's going to run back up and then it's going to dissipate back through, and that's how the cycle works. With the ammonia, when it's running up here through the top, other than I've sectioned a piece out, there is another internal pipe. So the ammonia keeps cycling itself back through there as well, and keeps coming back through there. Again, in order for that to happen, we need two sources of heat, and one is the electric element, most common. An RV absorption fridge, its first choice is always 110 hydro, and the second source of heat would be the gas or the propane end of things. This is a cutaway of what the actual burner and everything works. So this heat and this cutaway, this element, these pipes are attached to the pump tube and create the heat this way. When it's on propane, all right, the heat then creates itself back up through the chimney here on this side. In here is what I call a fishing lure. It just looks like a spiral lure, and it's dropped inside this piece of the pipe. And the purpose of that is to slow the heat being transferred up through the pump tube here. So the longer the heat stays in here, the more efficient our refrigerator is. If there's no way to slow it down, then the heat just rises out the chimney of the back. So that's how they work. In order for that to happen, a refrigerator needs a 12-volt source of power in order for it to work. Even though its main choice when it's on auto, and it should always be on auto, is 110, all the circuitry and the main power to the board is all powered through a battery through 12 volt. You have to have a good source of 12 volt power in order for any of your appliances in your RV to work. They also have safeties built in them. This is a circuit board. They also have safeties built in them that if the battery voltage got down below 10 volts of DC power, that it will go into a safety or a lockout so as not to damage your circuit board. So with that all being said, this is a typical what we would call an eyebrow board or a control board for your refrigerator. When you turn them on, you always want it to be in auto mode. Whether you're plugged in or dry camping, as long as it's in auto mode, the refrigerator will know what to do. In other words, if we unplug our 110 volts from the refrigerator, or if we disconnected our trailer and unplugged it and we're headed to another spot, the fridge would recognize there's no power to power up the element, therefore it will automatically change over to propane. All of these are what we call DSI circuit boards, which are direct spark ignition. In other words, no standing pilot. So you can quite easily unplug this and not have a flame on right away. And the reason for that is these are all RV absorption refrigerators are factory set at 38 degrees. So if you unplug and you're moving to your next spot and you want to leave the gas on, the gas probably will not start because you've already satisfied the temperature in the fridge. So being a DSI or direct spark ignition, It only comes on when it calls to make the fridge cold. If the fridge is already cold, it will not ignite and come back on because it's already satisfied. This is a typical board configuration. This is your 110. It's plugged into an outlet at the back side of the refrigerator. These are our 12-volt wires that would come back into the terminal block. We have to have, on this terminal block, we have to have a minimum of 10 volts. Realistically, we'd like to have 12 to 13. If you're ever checking voltage, never use a test light. Always use a multimeter to check your DC voltage at this point. Also, with your refrigerator, we get calls regarding noise or vibration. All of our refrigerators have a cooling fan on the back side of the fins. It would typically be located something like this. These are pushers, not suckers. So what I mean by that is they push the heat up and out. They don't draw the heat from down and out. So they should be somewhere around a third to the way up to the top. They are hooked up to a thermostat, and the thermostat is clicked on to the tubing, and this is what controls the fan. So this hat knows when our cooling unit is getting hot, and when it does that, then the fan will come on. On hot days, 90, 100 degrees, this fan could run all day. And that's what it's supposed to do. We have to be able to dissipate the heat that's created by the cooling unit here at the back of the fridge in order for it to be efficient. If we don't, then there's a thermistor which is on those fins that you see on the inside of your refrigerator in the fresh food compartment. Then our cooling unit is sending a signal to the thermostat to tell us what the temperature or how hot it is. So therefore, the thermostat will shut down. So we have to get rid of the heat. The more heat we move out of the back part of our fridge, the better optimal performance we will get out of it. And that's the purpose of the fan. On the big 4 doors or the double doors, it's not uncommon to have 2 or 3 of these fans out here working. On the roof of your, this is for a roof, not a slide out, but on the roof of your RV, you will have a fridge vent. That goes up on the top, and this is what the heat is dissipated through. This is just the cap that goes on there to keep the wildlife and whatever debris out of the fridge. These have to be kept clean. If we had some sort of a blockage on this, we won't be able to dissipate our heat as quickly as we can out of there. Therefore, it will hold the heat. Therefore, our fridge fresh food compartment thinks that it's satisfied because the outside has come to temperature. It's important to do your inspections on these to make sure that they're always kept clear. We find squirrels, we find sometimes the manufacturer has insulation that will fall over top of the hole. Sometimes we find the hole not cut all the way out, but it is very important. An RV fridge needs to have venting. It needs to have proper gas pressure, which is measured at 11.5 inches of water column. And it needs to have optimal battery or 12-volt performance. This could be achieved through a battery and or the power converter, which I'm going to talk about later on today, to make sure that everything is working. A side vent would have something that looks like this, and if it was in a slide out, you would have one down here at the bottom and one up here at the top. It is important as well that these are kept clean and free of debris. So if it's in a slide, then it's really important that the unit at the top, the vent up at the top, is kept clean, because that's where our fan is to be able to dissipate the heat, and it's just not as efficient sometimes as having a chimney that just goes right straight up to the roof. There we do. So this particular board has a built-in igniter on it. These are the new style. So all of this is done through one circuit board. The previous board to that did not have a built-in igniter. It had an igniter which was separate to it. It would be a little white box. Maybe it has a black cover over it that would be on the other side of that to make them work. Refrigerator, when you're getting ready to go camping, it's best to try and get it started the night before with nothing in it. They're most efficient when you pre-start them or get them already ready to be cooled before you load everything in it. If you were to load everything in your fridge, then turn it on, it'll take probably at least overnight for it to get back down to cool, because it's got to take all the humidity and everything out of all of our food and our ingredients that we put into the refrigerator. So it's always best to start them before you get ready to go out on your trip, and before you load them before you go on your trip. Right now, in at least Ontario, it is not illegal for you to drive with the propane turned on your fridge while you're going. The other side of that, we mentioned before that if the fridge is on auto, and we're getting ready to travel to the next part, say we do 6-hour trip, and we unplug it, we leave the fridge turned on because now it's going to work off of our battery, and we travel during that time. Remember DSI, direct spark ignition. The gas on this fridge, the absorption fridge, will only come on when it calls for cold. If we're close the fridge, it's 38 degrees, we're going to our next spot, the fridge, more than likely, depending on the ambient temperature, will not even come on. So you have it on propane, we got a fully charged battery, we're driving down the road. As long as the doors are closed on the refrigerator, then it will never come on, because it doesn't need to come on to cool anything. It's working as it should. If in doubt, take a frozen bottle of water or a freezer pack or something out of the freezer, bring it down, put it in the fresh food compartment, close the door. The cold that comes off of the water bottle or the freezer pack or whatever you happen to use will just dissipate in the ice box and help keep everything cold, therefore eliminating the challenge of trying to run with propane turned on as you're driving down the road. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our little FYI on RV absorption refrigerators. And again, my name is Jamie. Thank you very much for listening to us today, and hopefully we've got you some good information on how this stuff works. Thank you.